Question, can you explain the true action, please? Okay. Okay. But you're not, but, I'll explain it, but you'll come to see why it's so difficult for people to shift from being subject to the mind to just being awareness. Okay, but I'll explain it. When you've been caught up in the mind all of your life, and there's a sense of doership that comes from being subject to the mind, thinking what you're going to do, processing what you do, it's going to feel really counterintuitive when experience comes back to consciousness being the action. Because what does consciousness do? What does conscious contact do? Because like I said, the subject I can be aware, but it can't be it. It can be aware of it, but it can't be it. And this is where most people are at. They're aware of it, but they still are subject to the mind doing things with it. Okay? For true maturity, you've got to let go and just be it. So what happens then, and I'll explain the true action. What happens then, this is how it becomes action. I'll explain it again as conscious contact. You'll feel the body and the thought that comes out of it, okay? But before you suddenly are pulled into subject to think it, you'll remain as awareness instead. You'll remain simply as awareness, and you'll come to see that the stillness of awareness is always there, always, even if you're going through a tumultuous time, or feelings coming up and thoughts flying out. The awareness always remains permanent, still, undifferentiated to anything that's appearing. Okay, it always remains what it is, and it always remains the experience. Okay, everything you experience goes back to your knowing, but it's blocked in separation, whereby this subject I thought takes the experience. This is why they call the ego the thief. It steals the experience from what's really experiencing and becomes an illusory false self experiencer. Okay, compulsive thinking, self will run riot. So awareness itself is the experience, and that is action. Believe it or not, that's action. All right. When you feel something in the body, and we all do, we're sentient beings, we have the most sophisticated brain, the most sophisticated nervous system. We are sensitive, and we're prone to feeling emotional sensation, thought arising, perception. We have that. But the experience of that is conscious contact. It's not subject. You don't have to be subject to the mind, because this is where it gets a bit deep. I'll explain it later, because all of that doesn't experience itself anyway. This is the paradox. The body mind doesn't experience itself. It's only when you attach to it and live in relation to it, you become subject to it. And it gives the illusion that you think in your mind is the mind existing separately. That itself is the experience, but it's not. It's not. That's complete fallacy, I can assure you. What's actually experiencing the body mind is knowing, self-realization, consciousness. That's actually experiencing. Everything you see doesn't experience itself. That's the illusion. Allowing everything to come back to just being awareness, and as awareness, gentleness being the experience of you, is action. That's an action. That's letting it in. Everything coming in to what you are. And then what you are becoming the experience of who you are. Everything that appears, all the instincts that are being that are patterned in their way to express. Okay, so you can just be in your life. You can just be, and that's action. The direct experience. That's non-duality. What is knowing is the only thing that exists. But what it's knowing of reflects that knowing. It's a strange paradox that can only be understood by awareness. That's why step 6 and 7 are there. It explains this paradox. Amazing, isn't it? So that's action in its simplest form. The simplest form of action is, because it's so easy to separate from that and to go into the mental mind thinking itself, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. No, be with it. When the body needs correcting, when an instinct is wanting to separate into a reaction, that reaction is the character defect, not the instinct. The reaction is the ego, not the instinct. The instinct is just your body mind that needs correcting, that needs to come inward to truth association, which is true experience, which is conscious contact. Okay? The action is to remain as awareness, see that pull, tension to character defect, and just remain as step 6 and 7 in relation to your innermost, not identifying with that tension to separate. It dissipates. It undergoes its own dissolution. What you're left with then is the experience coming back to conscious contact and yourself coming in association to it, your instincts coming into association to true experience. Okay? It's action. As soon as you become aware, that's the active principle of reality. The active principle of reality is not the subject thinking itself. That's illusion, that's character defect, that's ego. Okay?